is a fun little riff here, and I like to play it. It feels nice under the fingers. However, I will not make it into a full song. To be honest, I actually made it into two full songs. I wrote two full songs around this riff and a couple of others connected to it or evolved out of it. And still, I don't feel like it has what it takes to be a song. And particularly, it doesn't have this why. Why do I play it? I enjoy playing it. I play it during practice or warm up or just for fun, but it remains buried deep somewhere on my hard drive. But I digress. I actually wanted to ask a question. Right, this is a kind of catchy little question, and I do believe again that the context should be provided. Although my channel is basically non-existent at this point, it is solely dedicated to my love for music. I do music-related stuff, I play, I talk about music or whatever, just because I love it. To add more context, I actually worked and still work for around 10 years, give or take, in robotics. I am no machine learning engineer by any means, but machine learning was part of my formal education and actually part of my bachelor thesis, my master's thesis, I believe, as well. And I, of course, came across people who actually do machine learning all the time during my work in robotics. And the reason I'm giving you this context is because it is still a rant of some random dude on the internet, but at least now you know where my rant is coming from. And also, this is my emotional support base because, to be honest, it used to be cringe, and I plan on saying some honest things in this video. Of course, the topic is AI, it's everywhere, and I want to get something out of the way already. I do believe that this is a pretty neat technology. If applied correctly, it can do lots of great things. Like, for example, I have here this little pedal made in Berlin. It's a doubler, so it converts mono signal into stereo signal and does it very convincingly. And it's hard to make a doubler that actually makes something sound like a double track. And the creators of this pedal, they used AI to do so, and it's actually pretty neat. It's the best doubler I ever heard. And this is just one of the examples of creating an actual instrument for artists, musicians, whatever. So just example that I have here available to me to show off that this is actually a neat technology. Lots of YouTubers, people in general now talk about AI. We see lots of videos. Usually these videos are comparisons of something AI generated versus something human generated. And they talk about, is this the same? Is this distinguishable? Is this indistinguishable? Is this good? Is this better? Is this worse? Or whatever. Lots of such videos. And I do have a problem with them. I do believe that they discuss the shadows on the wall. It is not important to compare human generated image to AI generated image, or music made by an actual musician to AI generated music. It's not important. And I will try to explain why I think it's not important. You see, I remember from the years of my education, I remember that there is this theorem, a universal approximation theorem, kind of controversial now, I guess. How I remember it is it basically says that Using a simple neural network, like one hidden layer neural network, we can model any mathematical function, right? And I do believe this theorem is from 1991 or 1989. So we know this theorem for years already. It's a quite noticeable amount of years, to be honest. What it means, how I understand what it means, is that basically we can model any single process using this neural network based models. It doesn't mean that we can create a general artificial intelligence. We cannot, according to this theorem. This theorem simply means that we can model any process because any process can be represented as a mathematical function. Therefore, it can be modeled because we can model any mathematical function. Something along those lines. So I will extrapolate a little bit from here, and I would say that we know for more than 30 years already that whatever AI generates will be indistinguishable from what humans do, or even better, right? Because it is optimized. It can be optimized for better performance, let's say. So we can optimize the model to generate a hit that will hit, pun intended, top 10 on Spotify or whatever, right? It can be trained to do so. So we know all the time already that it is possible. So in my opinion, it's already not interesting to discuss the comparisons. It's only a matter of time when it will be indistinguishable or even better. There's another interesting point why I think it's a weak and uninteresting discussion, the one that I do now, of course. There's this Moravec's paradox, I believe it's called like that, and this is actually something I observed a lot during my experience in robotics. The Moravec paradox claims that, or not claims, but we can observe it already, that certain tasks that humans consider easy are hard for a machine, and vice versa. Something easy for a machine is hard for humans. For example, recognizing faces is easy for us, for the most of us at least, but for a machine it is a hard task. And multiplying, I don't know, 20-digit numbers is hard for humans but easy for machine. And we can extrapolate from that. It's easy to walk for the most of us, right? We do this naturally and in effective, optimized way usually, and it's not a big deal. But make a machine that can walk like a human is a really hard task. We still don't have like really advanced humanoid robots. So we can extrapolate further. We consider creating a piece of art like a masterpiece or a really cool song, drawing a really cool picture is hard, takes years and years of training. It's like high level brain activity. But now we see that actually it's kind of easy for a machine, right? Well, kind of easy. It took lots of years, lots of raising computational power, lots of years of gathering the data. The internet helped a lot. However, now when the model is already like ready to be used, it's kind of easy. Like single prompt, I really hate this word, prompt, and in a matter of seconds you have your image or your piece of music. And do you remember this meme when can a robot create a masterpiece? And yeah, it actually can. If you want to flex before in front of the robot, you should ask if the robot can walk. During my years, I actually observed that people tend to expect different things. Usually, people assume that movements are easy. So, I actually observed people claiming that this is unexpected, that it is that way. I'm here to tell you that It's actually not important that AI model can generate a song which can be even better than I can write. Any song is better than I can write. It is not important. It doesn't matter. But we will get to it later. Now we see that internet is flooded with AI generated content. Hardly surprising because internet was preparing us for that with short form content and meaningless content being pushed more and more. So seeing the rise of AI generated content is hardly surprising. It's just the next step of meaningless bullshit on the internet. However, I would say we see the emerge of two types of people now. I will call them attackers and defenders. Whenever we see a post that uses an image generated by AI, you will always find a bunch of people in the comments complaining and attacking the author of the post that it is AI slop and shouldn't be seen at all, should be banned or whatever. And we see a bunch of people who actively defend it. So there's like another bunch that think that this is cool that we now can use AI to do something like that. Commonly, they use some arguments. For example, the attackers would say that, hey, this is stolen content, right? Because the model was trained on the content that was created by myriad of people and is actually stealing to use that. And the defenders would say in response that humans also do it. Like we learn by using other people's work. Valid argument, I would say here. Um, and yada yada yada, a bunch of like common arguments thrown here and there. And I do believe that there is some truth to all of the arguments of attackers and defenders, but I also do believe that it's not important. Again, it doesn't matter whether humans learn to create content in a way that neural networks do, it doesn't matter. But I do believe I've got better points to discuss humans versus AI. One of the points is let's discuss the learning, right? It is a valid argument that when I learn how to play guitar, for example, I use other songs to figure out how to play, and I learn other songs that were created by other people. These songs influence me, and that this bleeds into my own songwriting. This is valid, and this is valid for a neural network because you take the whole of the internet, feed it into the network, and it learns how to create something based on other people's work. However, there is a major difference. uh, I'm not being fed the whole of the internet at once, right? So the songs that I choose them for unique reasons for me. And the selection is unique for my empirical experience, right? All my life choices, whatever I did, it led to my choice of the music that I choose to listen to or to learn to or to learn. To be honest, this is a unique experience for every person. Even right now, if I somehow magically create a clone of myself and it will be sitting next to me, it is already a different person. We're looking at the camera from different angles, we exist at different points in space, and we already start to separate. We start to become different persons the moment my clone is created. So every person's experience, empirical experience, is absolutely unique. There is no one that can like be in your head and share the same things that you share. You're alone here in this weird room. Another point why it's not important to compare AI to human generated content is culture and context. I like to provide examples to support the argument, and For example, I have a song called Die Krähenstadt. The name is in German and it means the Crow City, right? And it's for a reason, because when I moved to Germany, I was going through some tough shit and it's influenced me a lot. When I just moved, I met lots of crows everywhere, and this image of the Crow City was born in my mind. And I was brewing the song already, I just didn't know which images I would use, and this image was born. And comparing with what was happening in my life, it all sort of blended together, and this why the song is depressing as hell, and this why it's called this way, and that's why the lyrics this way. And this is because this is the context that influenced the creation. It has a story behind it, and when you listen to it, you can think about it, right? When you listen to any piece of art, you can try to imagine why it was written that way. You can try to dig up and find out actual reasons why it was written that way. You can argue that you can do this for any song. This is true, but you're digging something that does not exist, right? The context for the AI generated song does not exist at all, right? The story does not exist. It was fed all of the internet, and if your context is everything, that means it's nothing. Another thing is culture, right? Culture is another contextual part, like separate contextual part that blends together with other contextual parts. And for example, I write metal, right? And this song that I mentioned is metal, and in metal there is a certain culture. I mean, actual metal, right? Not pop, pop deviance or whatever. Like there is a culture. For example, in metal, faking something is considered bad. Comparing to pop musicians, where faking something is absolutely normal. So in metal, people don't like faking, playing, or whatever. It's supposed to be kind of raw and aggressive and almost unprofessional. These are all parts of a certain culture. And when you mix those together, the context becomes even bigger and even more unique in that sense. And there's even more you can dig up and not imagine things, not create a separate reality that does not exist around something generated, but you can actually try to find an actual existing reality that surrounds the piece of art or piece of music or whatever. In that regard, considering the culture, I think there's another argument why we should expect that AI generated content will be everywhere and will basically win, will take over, right? Because I do believe that musicians hate themselves with every inch of their body. They actually hate themselves. I believe that musicians are a unique type of like artists, of creators, you know. They actually always try to sabotage their own craft to make it worse, to make it meaningless. Um, I have an example for that as well. I do sometimes session works for bands or projects. Like I record bass usually, not because it makes me any money. I usually just try to cover the cost of buying a new set of strings because they are expensive. I just do it because I love bass and I want to bring bass more into the world, right? So I had um, clients once, and one important note: I do try to create an image of myself that I absolutely despise people who use fake bass, like MIDI bass. And yeah, for the context, if there are somehow people who are not musicians, there is now software that can be used to fake basically any instrument. So you don't need to learn how to play. You can just bang your head on the keyboard and your song will be ready and the virtual instruments will play for you. So I try to keep this image that I'm the person who absolutely despise people who use fake bass, right? Um, so I also don't do any advertising. I don't have any websites or whatever. So when people come to me and ask for a recording, it's usually through someone I know. So I expect for them to have the context. I had these clients once. They had a really simple song, like for my skills, for my level. So I just can record it kind of in one take by looking at the screen. And because the song was kind of easy for me, I left it completely untouched, so no editing at all. Didn't even silence strip, if you know what that means. And I sent them the example of how it sounds. They refused to use it because it was too good. And uh, they thought also that MIDI bass, so fake bass, is also too good. So in that regard, they decided that they don't see a difference in using an actual musician, like collaborating with your colleague and using software sold to them by some company. I blocked them. I never talked to them, although they offered to pay for what I did. I really didn't care, and I still don't care. That was not the point of doing so, right? I also kind of, judging by the song, I think they are beginners because the guitars were really badly recorded and played, and I don't think they can hear the difference between anything. However, I think it highlights very well what's going on in music industry. It becomes more like that. It's not important anymore to actually play music, to have a process of playing music. It's not important to connect to other musicians because that could lead to a certain aspect of a culture, right? Because I recorded the song, I will post it somewhere. I will like tell my friends, hey, check it out. I recorded another song, how it sounds, and yada yada yada. They will post it somewhere and they will share it with their friends, and someone can ask, hey, like it's a cool bass, who did this? And I will connect to more people, and some of my friends can like the song and they can connect. So it creates a culture, it expands, right? It's That's why it's better to work with people, because there is culture. You can create culture and community, communicate and grow, and it's beneficial for everybody. So it's not really about fake in terms of the listener can hear that it's fake. No, most listeners cannot. They cannot hear that it's fake. It's more about the process and about the culture. As I said, in metal, it's kind of bad to have something fake, right? It's not widely accepted. It should not be widely accepted. The dominance of pop deviance in metal really shines now, so it's not that important anymore. But still, I do believe in that. It's important to be real and honest in this genre, and defying that, you defy the culture that actually created this genre in the first place. Yeah, in that regard, music is one medium that is most easily replaceable completely with AI slop. I really also hate the term AI slop. It's weird. AI generated content, right? Music is 100% replaceable, and you don't even need AI for that because music is basically math. You can program some music generator using some math rules to generate it, like maybe not that efficiently, but still it's not that complex, right? And that's why AI does it really good already. Let's do a little exercise. Imagine you have a favorite band and you're waiting for a new album for 10 years already, or maybe even 25 or 20, it doesn't matter. And it finally drops, you're excited, and you give it a listen. And you have all kinds of emotions, and you can be happy or even disappointed, but disappointment is still a valuable emotion to have, especially after 25 years long wait for a release. Now imagine you can generate 10 albums of your favorite band in an hour, and then why would you even bother listening to them? Instant access to a result gives instant lack of value of this result. At least it works like that with art. I mean, art, it's not toilet paper. I mean, on the contrary to that, on the contrary of to wait for a release for 25 years, millions of people create actual genuine art every day. You just choose to ignore them. AI generated content solves problem that does not exist. Art in general is not a production of toilet paper. It shouldn't be optimized. The whole point of art is to be unoptimized as possible. It's not required for survival. For survival, you need to eat shit, sleep, reproduce, repeat. That's it. Art is the opposite of optimized. This technology optimizes things that should not be optimized. Just open Bandcamp. There are thousands of new songs every day uploaded. Just go there and you will find whatever you want to find, made by actual people with history and context. You really don't have a problem with not enough songs to go and ask a machine to generate a new one for you. I want to bring out my main point that I want to talk about. It's the process, right? Why do I play guitar and bass and why do I sing? Because it's cool. It's not cool to have the recording. Right? It is cool, don't get me wrong, but it's not as cool as creating the recording, like the actual process of singing, actual process of um, hitting the strings hard and creating a sound. It's actually about the process and the satisfaction that you get during the process, seeing like and hearing what you can do is amazing. It's all about that. All life is about that. There's this myth of Sisyphus, a guy who pushes a boulder up a mountain and then the boulder rolls back and he has to push it back up again, and this is a never-ending cycle. And the question here, at least interesting for us, is why does he do it? Well, essentially one of the answers, because he enjoys it. This is the process of his life, to push a boulder up a mountain. Everybody enjoys pushing boulders up a mountain, right? So it's a metaphor, of course, and this is what we do all our lives. We push boulders up a mountain, and if you take away the process of pushing boulders up a mountain and you will instantly teleport it to the top of the mountain, what would you do? What would you enjoy? I know you can give millions of answers. What would you enjoy instead of pushing boulder up a mountain? But this is a freaking metaphor, all right? Let's stick to the metaphor. When you use AI prompt to generate something and you believe that you're an artist, you're really not, because you don't have the process, you don't have the context. And once again, even recording and producing an actual result can have some interesting context to it, right? Like the way you recorded, what you used, and why. You woke up in the middle of the night and you decided that you want to play and you recorded some parts, and like this state of still being half asleep influenced how you play and all that stuff, right? There's always a history to the process. And once again, it's not important what the result is, how good it is. AI will produce better results in time that are more commercially successful or whatever. But it's not important that the result is not important. We know already what the result is of anything. This is a pale blue dot, and it was taken by the Voyager 1, I believe. And it shows that we live in a terrible abyss. And it shows what the result is as well. The result of anything is the end, right? When you did something, you did it. Here's the result. It's like immediate. You, I don't know, painted a picture. Here's the picture. You did it. Now what? It's like the result is a really tiny fraction of time, which doesn't matter that much. So focusing on the result instead of the process is a weird thing. It's like denying the only thing that you have, right? The only thing that you have is actually the process of living your life. Why would you delegate it? That there is no other choice, right? You can only live your life and nothing else. I do see that people sometimes say that, well, yeah, I used AI to generate this picture and posted it, and I went on to do what I actually like. Doing what you actually like is great, but why did you waste your time on nothing and robbed other people of the process? So AI gives you an instant result, and an instant result and an instant end to something. You skip directly from the beginning to an end without the juicy part, without the part that actually matters. Imagine, I don't know, watching opening cutscene of a really cool game and directly after that watching the ending cutscene and skipping all the gameplay. That what actually happens when you use AI. By robbing yourself of this process, you unintentionally rob other people of this process, right? Because no matter how hard you believe the opposite, everything that you do influences others. It influences the world. You exist in the world. You cannot exist outside of the world, right? If we skip the part that you actually exist inside your head. And I do believe that what we do most of our lives is we try to fight our loneliness in a different ways. Some people try to fight to accept it and live with it. Some people try to fight it to not feel it so often. So the example that I showed with the clients of mine that decided to pay money to a rich company and use their software instead of connecting to their fellow musicians really shows that. So it's becoming harder to fight our loneliness. And if you remember that we live in a terrible abyss, disconnecting from each other in this terrible abyss is even more terrifying. So, do you want to end your life?